right. It's 3:30 and I want to make sure that we don't waste any of your time. So I'm saying welcome. I'm Stephanie Crawford. I'm the Executive Director for IDEA. And today we are having a Wednesday webinar with ParentSquare, and they're talking about what's working to connect with families. I'm really excited to hear from Stacy today, and I just want to give you a few reminders before we jump in. First, everybody will be given the recording, so if you need to go back for anything, you'll be able to look back at it. Second, I will be monitoring the chat, so if you have questions and you don't feel comfortable coming off mute, you can always put them in there, and I will let Stacy know that we have a question. Third, at the end of this, you will get a link in the chat that will allow you to claim your PDH for being here live if you would like it. And last but not least, I am going to throw it over to Stacy, let her introduce herself, and we're going to get started. Stacy?
Thank you so much, Stephanie. So I am Stacy White, and I am one of the reps for ParentSquare in Illinois. We absolutely love working with you guys. I think you may be my favorite state because of how friendly you all are. But I do want to keep today pretty interactive. So when we talk about what is working, I would also like to hear from you guys about what are some challenges that you are facing. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get started here. So when we think about school-to-home communication, a lot of times what we find one of the main challenges that you face is that there are so many options out there. And it's not that there's anything wrong with all of the tools out there. It's just that a lot of times it can take a little bit of this and a little bit of that to complete the picture. So when we think about, okay, we have our classroom teacher, and what is the classroom teacher using for school-to-home communication? Maybe their email from the school-issued email address. Maybe it is one of the free apps that's available out there. But it may be your coaches are using something else to communicate with those teams. I used to be a debate coach and would need to communicate with those students and families as well. But then you have your administrators, the comms directors at the district, curriculum directors, and maybe that has a whole nother set of tools that are needed to give those newsletters and things like that. Is this typical of what you guys are finding? Anybody want to be brave enough and kind of talk about the journey at your district for school-to-home communication? If not, that's okay. I can keep going. So when we have a little bit of this and a little bit of that, if we put our parent hat on, it can create kind of this spaghetti chart. Where do I go for school-to-home communication? Do I need to download an app? Do I need to look in my email? Am I supposed to take an action that I'm not even aware of? Or if we put the hat on of the administrator, how do you have that oversight into that risk management? That's a lot to be responsible for and keep track of. Not to mention, how do you know exactly how much information is going out? You can have, maybe an information overload situation that's occurring at your district if you are not able to keep track of all that. Maybe every single day your families are receiving communication that could easily be condensed down to maybe like a 5-minute Friday update that gives all the things happening in the class for that week. I see some chat live. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say. We had someone say that they just switched to ParentSquare this year, and I'm wondering if maybe there are others who also have just made the switch this year.
Anybody else new to ParentSquare?
If you're new to ParentSquare, please feel free to put it in the chat or unmute.
And move this over. Okay, so this is where ParentSquare comes in. We want to move all of the school-to-home communications into one experience, and we're going to do that by syncing with your student information system and viewing that as your source of truth. So that way your families don't have to take any action. If they are in your SIS, they do receive communication from ParentSquare. And the reason that we like the fact that your families don't have to take action, it's because you may have busy and distracted parents. They mean well, they just forget to, download the app, or they forget to sign in or do whatever it takes for that school-to-home communication. And not only are we going to be like automatic communication from school to home, but we're also going to automatically translate in the end user's native language. What we feel is a big barrier for school districts and their families is multiple languages. I know I was communicating with someone last week, and they said at their intermediate school alone, they have 27 languages. So with ParentSquare, we are going to use that Google Neural Translation, and we translate into over 190 languages. That makes it really convenient. And one of our district partners in Illinois, she was sharing the story that the pre-K teacher was having a neon day. And the family of a student spoke Chinese, and they replied back to the teacher, "What is Neon Day?" They had no idea what these even meant. And the parent was communicating in Chinese, typing it out to the teacher, and the teacher was communicating back, typing in English, and it was going back and forth in each person's native language. So this teacher was like, it means really bright colors and all of this. And so the parent said, "Can I please bring my child bring some items for the school?" And so that kid brought neon markers, glow sticks, all the things. And the parent and the teacher were both in tears just because they were actually able to have an authentic conversation. And I think that's just beautiful about that native translation automatically here in ParentSquare. So whenever you have urgent communication or attendance, those are going to go out immediately or the time of day you set up for your attendance. But non-urgent communication by default in ParentSquare is going to collect together and send at the end of the day in a digest email. The reason we think this helps increase your engagement is because you can have your working parents that are able to focus on their job all day long and then set some time in the evening to focus on that school to home communication. Your families can also go in and override those settings if they do want information hot off the press. And they can say, "You know what, I want to get it as soon as it comes out." They can change those settings to instant. But also, whenever your district decides to override that setting and send something immediately, it also helps your families pay attention. For example, my district where my kids go is a ParentSquare district, and I'm used to looking at all my personal ParentSquare information at the end of the day. And there was an instance recently where they had sent something immediately out to everyone because they needed to make us aware of a rumored threat at the school. And so whenever that came across my phone, as I'm sitting here working, getting all the demo things from ParentSquare, I actually paused and took a look to see what the school was sending out because I knew that wasn't typical for my district to send that information out at that time. So it also just really helps your families know, I'm not having to sift through, is this important? Should I stop for this? They're going to know when to expect that communication, and if it's something different from that preferred time, then to pause and take a look because it is something more critical. You see the app on the screen, and it is absolutely available and wonderful, great reviews. It's just not necessary for ParentSquare to work. We know that in order to have an app be dependent for your families, that would take a very heavy app download campaign. Lots of time spent from your end to try to get your families to download that app. And we know that you may not have that time. And we also want to be inclusive of every single person at your district. So we call that all means all. So what we're going to do is have that SMS text message that's available. So that way you don't have to have that app download. We can also email your families. But for those families that do love it, it is available. And we also have StudentSquare. And I love StudentSquare because I feel that it is one of the most underutilized tools that we have at our disposal. And it's the same thing as ParentSquare, it's just communication that's going directly out to your students. And what we have found is that the districts who are including the students in their communication, they're engaging them even more. One of the districts in Kansas who has a requirement that all people use the district preferred mode of communication, it's in their handbook. She told me recently that the students will go up to the sponsors and beg them to create a group if they haven't done that already because they love that communication in StudentSquare. So another example of that is one of my daughters is a senior this year, and last year she was trying to get 100 volunteer hours. And so they have a group called Green Court. Again, my district is a ParentSquare district. We were driving down the road and she said, "Mom, I love Student Square." Now, since I wasn't talking about my job, I was like, "Okay, tell me more. I could use this in my demos." And she said that it is so easy for her to know where that volunteer information is located, what to do. It's all right at her fingertips. So the students are even feeling engaged whenever you include them in that communication. So again, the heart and soul of what ParentSquare does is we want that two-way communication. We want your families and your students to feel engaged at the school. Now, I used to be an English teacher and a debate coach, and one of my Achilles heels was having those forms that needed to be turned in to go on that field trip, that competition. All of that can be digitized and live in ParentSquare. So you can digitize any of the forms that you currently have. You can easily create forms from scratch, or you can use some of the forms that ParentSquare has readily available for you. The reason I feel like this should have bells and whistles is not only is it translated into the end user's native language, it's super easy for the families on the fly, on their phone or their tablet or their laptop to respond back to the form. But also for those people that inevitably do not turn it in, well-meaning people for sure, but just someone's not going to turn this in. Instead of cross-referencing that list or looking up the email or phone number of that parent, you're just able to hit send reminder. So it takes the burden off of your teachers, off of your sponsors of trying to keep track of exactly who hasn't turned this in, who has, do I have the list I need to, check this off before we can even go on this field trip or on this competition. So it really does make it easier for your teachers as well as your administrators. So how is ParentSquare different? Well, you can count us in and check us off. We know it is absolutely critical for you guys to be able to send those urgent alerts. All hands on deck. We need everybody to know school is canceled due to weather. I am in Texas and we had some crazy storms yesterday, a little bit of power outages around here for a little while. And one of our elementary schools, actually in my neighborhood, had a whole electric pole that knocked down. They're the only school in the district that isn't in session today. So not only can you send campus-wide, you can also get specific and send it to district-wide, you can send it also to just your campuses or just some groups for those alerts. But we also want to empower your teachers at that classroom level. And we want to give you some tools at the district level, like our newsletters, as you're disseminating that information. Another thing that we have to complete that picture is our websites. Now, one thing that I will say is even though we have a ParentSquare website called SmartSite that is wonderful, we can also push information through a website widget to any of the websites that you're currently using. We want you to be able to create once in ParentSquare and share everywhere, including your social media accounts. So you can push your post and information out from ParentSquare to Facebook, Twitter X, Instagram, as well as your website widget. So again, disseminate that information to the larger audience and not just your school families. So now I'm going to pause as I am going into my demo site here and just see. I hope you weren't worried that this was going to be death by PowerPoint. Now I'm ready to go live into the demo site, but any questions before we move forward? Okay.
Sorry, I have two. I apologize.
Perfect.
When you were talking about the survey results that you could push out through ParentSquare, who is able to see those results and can you modify after the fact? So for instance, if a principal were to push out a survey, but then the superintendent wanted to also see those results, is it similar to like a Google form in terms of collaborators or not so much?
So if you are wanting to add some collaborators after you have sent out that message, you go into the cogwheel and you manage admins, and then you could add that superintendent or that office manager to that post. So that way they could also see those results. And then you would just go in and view the report there. And then anybody that is part of that post or a manager of that group would be able to go in and view those results. So you can do that after the fact as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
It's a great question. So on my home page right now, I am logged in as an administrator. So as an admin, you see absolutely everything. As a teacher and a parent, you are only going to see information that's relevant to you. What I love about this is that your families are not going to have to sift through information. If I don't have a kiddo in band, the band feed is not on my post. I do have a senior, lots of information goes out to senior parents. So all of that is on my feed. But if I didn't have a senior parent, I don't have to ignore that. That doesn't pertain to me and move on to the next piece of information, which we really feel will help you increase your engagement just by making sure your families know if they are receiving information from ParentSquare, it is important to them either the district sent it out, the campus, or their child is in that class group or whatever it may be that they're receiving. You also see events over here on the right-hand side, and you can create an event through a post like save the date for this. But we also offer a two-way Google Calendar sync or anything that you have an iCal feed for. I really haven't found anything that doesn't have an iCal feed in there somewhere. And what I love about that is that you don't have to create it twice. Once you change that calendar, wherever it may be, it'll go into that master ParentSquare calendar and update it there. And that will be color coded for your families. And then if it is something that you are wanting an event for, you can actually have it on there where your families can just add that to their device's calendar. So calendars are really important in ParentSquare to really get that information out to your families. You see lots of kids on the left-hand side here. That's because I have like several demo sites, but I really am a ParentSquare parent. So you can toggle to your own child's campus easily if you have any staff or faculty that have their own children in the district or a neighboring district with ParentSquare, and go to your personal page. So this is exactly what I have on my page as a parent. Now, remember, my child is in this green cord. That's why I'm getting this. If she were not part of that group that wants to get that volunteer information, this wouldn't even be on my page. So that's what makes it nice whenever you are looking at it from the parent lens. So just a reminder right now, I am on a real parent page, my real parent page. So if you do want to see something from that parent lens, ask me before I click back over to the demo site. But as a parent, I can also toggle in to see what my groups are for my student. But my favorite part about this is that I can go in and search in ParentSquare because it's going to act kind of like a cloud. So even though I am receiving this via text and email, I tend to delete all of that and it just is going to live in ParentSquare for me. So maybe I wanted to remember, have I looked up whenever that senior yearbook is due or that ad or whatever. So as soon as I hit search, then it's going to pop up and show me anything that was sent out with the yearbooks. Anything that you're wanting to see here on my home page as a parent before I move over to the demo site? Okay. So with ParentSquare, we think one of the most important things is to make sure this is easy. We want it to be easy for your teachers to use, for your administrators, office managers, but we also want it to be easy for your families. So as I'm scrolling around here, it should look very familiar, that social media type feel. And that is by design because we don't believe that you'll have to let anybody know, hey, go ahead and scroll around and see what's happening. So with a post in ParentSquare, it's going to be one of the main ways that you can have that two-way communication as well as direct messages. So over here, there's 4 different ways to communicate. One is posts. Another one is direct messages. Those are going to be two-way communication. And then your alerts and notices will be that one-way communication. One of the things you can do is an appointment sign up. So maybe you have technology distribution or spring conferences or cap and gown distribution, whatever that may be, anything that you need an appointment sign up for, you're easily able to do in ParentSquare. So I do have my app here on the phone that I want to show you. Again, everything is going to be in the native language of the end user. This is in English. I can click on Spanish in just a moment. But if I were going to click onto these appointments, then I could just say I am going to sign up for that, and then it is going to be ready to go. So it's easy to click around and see exactly what you need to go to as you are a parent trying to take some action there. Every single post that you send out is going to have an eyeball at the bottom, and this is going to give you data and statistics. Was this post sent and was it received? But more importantly, was it viewed? So maybe you are a teacher and you're having some chronic absenteeism in your classroom. A child is just absent here and there and not really turning in schoolwork. And so you're sending out some amazing posts that give exactly what's happening in the classroom. Maybe some assignments are included in it. And you're about to have this conference with the parents. So you can go into those posts, look up that parent's name and see, are they even engaging in what I'm sending out? And that will give you more data as you go into that conference. I personally love actionable data. I think it helps drive, behavior and decisions. So to let you know exactly kind of how to have that parent-teacher conference.
Stacy,
Mm-hmm.
we did have a question. As a parent, once my child graduates, will I still be able to retain access in ParentSquare?
That is a great question. So you would not be able to have access into ParentSquare because we are viewing the student information system as the source of truth. So that's going to be a nightly sync. So once you're no longer part of the SIS, you would no longer be part of the ParentSquare. That's a great question. So with a post, you are able to write an email. You are able to create a beautiful post. We are rights, roles, and permissions based. So in this 2 section, for the teachers, the entire district or campus will not populate for them because teachers do not have permissions to send a campus or district-wide post. But what will be at their disposal will be any of the groups that they have. Maybe I'm teacher and I have my reading levels or my math levels or an after-school tutoring group. So it would be my class, my grade level, or any of those other groups. Everything that you see on the left-hand side is included in ParentSquare and takes away the need for other tools such as Sign Up Genius. So you can go ahead and add that calendar entry. You can add photos, files, videos. My favorite thing about the videos as a former teacher is that it would make me so nervous to have a video showing in my class because I never knew what the next suggested video was going to be, or is there going to be a pop-up ad? You don't have to worry about any of that in ParentSquare because that simply will not take place. The only thing that will show is the video that you embed. With this forms and permissions, that's how easy it is to add those to the post, what I was filling out earlier. You can also ask for items and request volunteers. We have really seen our districts have an increase in their volunteerism using ParentSquare because it's so easy for the parents to sign up and do whatever they need to do in ParentSquare for the schools. Now, share this post is going to be another rights, roles, and permission. The teachers will not have this unless you grant them that access, but this is where you can send that out to Instagram, Facebook, Twitter X, as well as your website widget. But maybe you do want your athletic director to send it out to Twitter X or wherever it is that they like to send the updates of scores and things like that. So you can go in ParentSquare and grant granular permissions. Now, again, my district does use ParentSquare, and I also have a freshman, and she's on the soccer team. And so the Soccer Booster Club president actually sent out the permission slip for the team building exercise that they did. And also, they also send out to Instagram and Facebook about the game. So you can give some extra permissions. It's just not going to be automatic from the get-go. I see a question. We do offer a scheduling feature with parent-teacher conferences. May I with a school? Okay, so let me go show you. We just had that at my own district. So I'm going to go show you what they really did. And they call it their Expo Night, which is the STEM night. Actually, one of my kiddos volunteered there. So if I can go here. This went out from the expo Byron participants, but they just created a group per campus. So whenever you are sending out that post, if you are wanting it to be multiple schools, then you would just send it out per campus, however you wanted to do that. So you could send it to the entire district to have everybody sign up for that, or you can have a group per campus. That's what my district did. So I'm at a district that has 3 different high schools. And so there's Byron Nelson where my kids are, then there's Northwest, and then there's Eaton. And so there were 3 different participant groups that received this message. So this is exactly what that looked like. Let me go back to my demo site and make sure I'm getting the rest of these questions. RSVP. Okay, let me go into the parent-teacher conferences and show you how that works. So with the appointment signups, you would select whatever date that you want. You can add as many dates as what you would like. And then you choose your start time. I don't think anything would start at 12:30. It'd probably be later on, but let's just go with the demo, times here. Again, all of this is editable to whatever time you need. So I'm going to say we're going to have 20-minute appointments, 5-minute break in between. And then when I go next, as I'm sitting here talking to you, this is how easy it is to schedule or to create those conferences, the parent-teacher conferences or whatever that may be. Maybe you know that at 12:30 to 12:50, you have another meeting that you need to attend. So you can go ahead and cancel that out before you publish this out to your families. Maybe over here, you have something else to do there. And then you go next. You can title that whatever you want to. It will have your last name tied to it, but you can, again, edit any of this. Now, we never really recommend just having posts go out without any images at all. That's why we do have a partnership with Canva. You can go to canva.com/ParentSquare and grab some really cool images to come over to enhance this post and make it look livelier than just those words. Another thing you can do is rewrite with AI. But if you are going to, hope this won't pull up on I'll just add an image, drop it over just to show you what it does. It'll ask you if you want to add that alt text in that. And then it'll give you those AI generated alt text as well. So you can keep these posts ADA compliant too. I don't know if y'all were able to see that. I accidentally clicked off of it before it went on there. But that's how easy it is for that appointment signups. But let's talk about the RSVPs. So if I wanted to have something, say on the 11th at 9 o'clock, I'm going to have this as an event. And maybe I do want to send a reminder about that or ask for an RSVP. Then I can go ahead, and that is now added to this. And I'm going to send this to maybe 2nd grade and 3rd grade, just to show that you can have multiple different groups on there. And then I'm going to just have this be test post just to show you what this does. And I'm going to type, mistype something. And then I'm going to go ahead and post this now, just to show you what that does to my device's calendar. So here's what I just added. And do you see here where it says add to device's calendar? Then I can do that there. See right here? Anytime that you have that event sign up, that is what it's going to look like for your family. So they can just click that and add that right to their own calendar. Did that answer all of the questions about the parent-teacher conferences before I move on from that, or the RSVPs? Are y'all liking that? Is this resonating with you, thinking that it might make your life easier, which is, again, one of the main goals of ParentSquare? Great. Since that was a very ugly post, I am going to delete it. Okay, so post, again, is going to be that two-way communication, and part of that is because you can comment to these posts. What I love about this, though, is that there's a lockbox, and it's going to let you know that this is a private conversation back from you to the post creator. Or if you have some additional admins that you've added on there that you would like to help you manage these posts, then maybe you want the office manager included. If there's a lot of questions about the color run, then you can add as many managers as you want, and then you can respond back. The reason I love this is because it prevents that social media firestorm. Maybe there are some legitimate questions, but then it's going to spark something from someone else, and all of a sudden we're talking about something completely different than the color run and wish that we'd never put this out there. So all of that can be prevented because the comments go back again to that post creator. But sometimes you don't want the comments available. For example, when my district sends out test scores or things like that, they usually turn comments off. So you can go to that cogwheel and disable the comments. Now, another thing that you can do after the fact, maybe you have this color run, you're excited about this, but you're getting a whole lot of phone calls to the school. The communications department is overrun with answering the phone. Here's the answer about color run. Somebody else has another question, and you wish you had sent it out to your social media or to your website widget. So you can go in and do that after the fact as well. So maybe it's not something you decided as you were creating it that you wanted it out to your website or social media, but later you do. So don't worry about that. You can do that after the fact without having to reinvent the wheel. Another thing besides printing out or uploading the forms that you have filled out to a CSV, you can also message your volunteers and view the report. I know that at my district, we get in competitions with the other campuses around to try to see who can get the most volunteer hours. And so really keeping track of that is important to my school. And so you can view reports of that, keep track of it. Maybe message those volunteers, hey, this party starts at 8 a.m. Do you think you could have those donuts there by 7:30 instead of at 8:05 or however it usually worked out? We're like, where's the food? So I love the two-way communication of the post. Before I move to direct messaging, is there any other questions about posts? Okay. Now with direct messages, this is also two-way communication. Again, everything is going to be automatically translated in the end user's native language. This is going to go out via text as well as email to the families, back to the teacher. And ParentSquare did acquire Remind about a year and a half ago. And so those same functionalities that your coaches and sponsors were loving about Remind is now part of ParentSquare. So with the direct messages, you as the administrators will have complete oversight into every single staff member's direct message history. You can even go in and search for a conversation. But that just gives a wonderful safety net so nobody has to worry about, he said, she said. You will have the documents and everything at your disposal to look at just for safety. Another thing is you are able to go in and just type in your student's name, and then any parent that is tied to that child will populate for you. So I am school nurse, and maybe Lauren is in my office and she's sick, and I need to let the parents know that there's a fever. I really feel that she needs to be picked up and taken to the doctor. So as a nurse, I just have to type in the student's name that is in there with me. Now, any person that is tied to this student, again, will populate. So if it is a split family situation, it'll say mom, stepmom, dad, stepdad, however that is, where you can choose all of them or a few of them. Who do you want to send this message to? But it takes the burden away from your teachers, your coaches, your nurses, everyone of who has legal rights to this student. That's going to be at their fingertips and readily available for them. Also, maybe Lauren is having a wonderful day. Maybe she's been struggling, but I want to let this family know she is on target today, having a great day. It's easy for your teachers to engage the families because all they have to do is type in their student's name and then boom, they're ready to go with that message. You can also attach some schoolwork here if you needed to do that, or maybe I'm at that debate competition and I recorded the awards ceremony and I want to send that securely to the families that weren't able to attend. I am able to do this. It is wonderful because your teachers can use their personal cell phones, but they don't have to use their personal cell phone number. It'll be a secure number right there through ParentSquare and not their personal cell phone. Keeps everybody nice and secure. But maybe I am the kindergarten teacher and we are going on a field trip And I'm going to add the recipients for my entire class because I would like to remind everyone to wear closed-toed shoes, bring a sack lunch, water will be provided, whatever it may be. You don't just have to send individual messages in ParentSquare through the direct messaging. You can send a message to your entire class or your group. Maybe it is your wrestling team and you want to let the parents know that they can sign out through the app, and they just type right back via text to the coach and then sign their own student out. Or whenever we were done with our competitions, it was usually midnight or a little after. And so this would be a great message. We are 20 minutes away from the school. Parents, please be there to pick up your children, because at that point I was ready to go to bed. Any questions about the direct messages? Can you imagine that it is not? Great question. The question was, is direct messaging only through the app? We are not app dependent because we know that many of your families will not download the app, not because they don't want to, they just forget about it, or maybe their storage is full. And so the direct messaging, if they have the app, it will go through that, or it is going to go via text message and email. It's not either or, it will be text message and email. It is going to be a phone number from ParentSquare that is going to send out to the families, and we do try to keep it the same area code as your school district, and it will also have the last name of your coach or your teacher tied to it. So it'll be the ParentSquare number with a short code, like my pretend school here is Jackson Community School. So it'll say JCS, and it will have white after it for my last name. The question was, where does the phone number come from? Yes, you can sync. The groups will come over from the SIS, but this is a question about groups. Now, I think grouping is vital in ParentSquare because we put so much emphasis on, we want you to communicate with the exact recipients that should receive that message. I do feel that if you are getting granular with who you send out your messages to, then your families will pay attention because they know this matters to them. So for anything that you do have in your student information system, this is going to be an auto update group. But sometimes you may not have that information in the SIS, and that's what we're going to call a static group. Let's just say we're going to do an IdeaCon group here. Now, the different categories that you can have for the groups is going to be public, private, or confidential. Now, confidential, no one other than admin would be able to search for those groups. So maybe it's going to be your special ed groups or your free and reduced lunch. Just know that that would be a completely confidential group that no one would even be able to search for. Public means that anyone that is in your school system would be able to go and that toggle down bar on the right-hand side that I was showing you earlier, they would be able to go search for that group and join it. So you're making it public to your school system, not to outside people from your, SIS, but anybody in your ParentSquare could go join that. Or private is going to be where you upload a CSV file or select students, and it's locked to just the people that you put in that group. So you can decide if you want that public or private. Maybe for your sports teams, you want that public because you want other people to be able to keep track of what's happening. I don't know. Then you can save and add people. You can generate that link, which is going to be that QR code. Now, one thing about this is if somebody is not in your SIS and they try to scan that QR code, it will ask for permission from that group owner if you want that person to join, which would prevent, anybody like outside of your school trying to get into those groups. But maybe grandma, grandpa does need to be a part of that, and you could go ahead and have them join that. And you can also upload from a CSV file or select your group of students. So maybe as I'm classroom teacher and I wanted to have maybe I have some really superstar math students that I want to give some additional, work to, and then I can do that by selecting those students and then sending them either a direct message or a post with some additional work. Yes, you can modify your groups after they are made. That is a great question. Maybe some additional people need to be in that. Another group that I love, if you don't have this in your student information system, is having your bus routes in a group, because you are able to send like an auto notice over to say like bus 427 is running behind. Maybe you have your AM, PM buses or whatever, just to really help those families stay connected to what's happening with those bus routes. So posts and direct messages are two-way communication. Do we have any questions about either one of those before I move over to our one-way communication? Oh, you know what? I want to click over and show one more thing. We have ParentSquare Pay, and the reason that I think this is so cool is that you can request payment. Maybe we have a field trip that you are going on that you would like for your families to be able to pay that entrance fee to the zoo or whatever that may be. Or it could be you have all of your summer camps that you're sending out through ParentSquare, that you're saying, here's the basketball camp, the football camp, baseball, all the things. And then you could just request that payment in there, and you can allow for guest payments. If you have an Apple phone, then you could do Apple Pay or Google Pay, conversely. You can also have fundraisers on here. You can ask for donations, but that can go straight into your post and send out, and you will be able to have as many accounts tied to this as you would like. So maybe your PTA has an account, your high school has an account, or whatever that may be, and this money will sift into that funding that you need. Also, what was I going to say about that too? Oh, you can request payments. Maybe it's for Chromebook fees, and somebody, broke their Chromebook or something, and they owe an amount. You can send that out through the invoices and request payments too. And you can make outside payments if you come in with cash. You can accept that as well, maybe at the front desk or whatever that may be. Any questions about the pay before I move on to the alerts? Okay. So with our alerts and notices, we have two different types. One is going to be this urgent alert, and this is the only thing in ParentSquare that doesn't offer flexible choices. This will go out as a text, call, email, and push notification, period. I love the image of that red bullhorn because this means all hands on deck. So you can choose if you would like some guests to also receive this, maybe your school board or your fire chief or someone that's not tied to the student information system. You can allow them to be part of your ParentSquare system. Maybe you want to select them into this. You can include students. We also can do Instagram here, but you can choose if you want to send it to your social networks. And you can choose from a library of templates, or you can create the message from scratch. Maybe it's fitting for me here. We've had that power outage. So we can select that group, that message of power outage, and then send that urgent alert, and it goes out text, call, email, and push notification. But we also have a smart alert. And the smart alert, you get to choose the recipient and choose the modality. So instead of that being an all call, you can choose the phone number that it's coming from, but maybe you just need to send a message to your internal staff and you want to just send them a quick text. So you would just fill out that text field. This message goes to internal staff, text. Maybe it's to all after school groups that are practicing, and all after school activities are going to be canceled. So you want to include every single one of those groups, send that as an email and a text. You just fill out those two fields. If you do decide that you also want to do the audio message, you select that and you can do text to speech or record your message. So flexible choices with these smart alerts. You again choose the group or groups, and you choose the modality that you want to send that in. I really like to show this off though on my phone here, because if you select that plus button, then you are able to go right to that urgent alert, send close today due to weather, send that message. I just sent that with like 4 clicks as I was talking to you, really easy to do. Same thing would be true for that smart alert. You can create it from scratch or from a template, and you're good to go. One of my friends is a first grade teacher at our elementary school around here, and she told me that the reason that she absolutely loves ParentSquare is because everything that she does is from her phone. She makes her post from the phone, she sends her direct messages. She has 3 kids, one's in college, and she's like, it is so easy for me that no matter where I am, I can really engage my families. And she said it doesn't really feel like it takes much effort at all. So I really love that too. I feel like it is very helpful to make it easy for your teachers. You can schedule your alerts to go out. That's a great question. Another thing that you can do with one-way communication is send an auto notice. And with an auto notice, you set a condition, and if that condition is met, that message is sent. So this could be like your attendance. Maybe you want to send out the attendance that way, and you can turn on an excuse note where if your families write in the reason for that absence, it'll go straight back to your attendance clerk. Also, you could maybe a low lunch balance notification. It is going to look like a personalized message and just kind of have that mail merge in there, but it will take whatever condition that it is. And if that condition is met, that's what's going to trigger that message. Some other examples are shot records at the beginning of the year. Maybe you have, you only want to send a message to the parents that haven't turned in all that information. And so you could send that out, or maybe your grade drops below a certain threshold. So lots of choices. All you need is the student ID in order to get that auto notice sent out. Any questions about the auto notices? Okay. We also have secure document delivery, and this is going to be where we require 2-step authentication in order for those notices to be opened, which really helps you keep track of, was this viewed by the families, especially if that's important, and to keep it very nice and secure with that 2-step authentication. So report cards are like the obvious choice for why would you send a secure document, but also imagine all of the MAP testing and state testing that you have that you need to send out that information to your families. So that can also be done securely through these secure documents. As well as maybe, your GT or COGAT scores or anything like that. How do y'all send out your report cards and other secure documents right now? Is anybody still printing? That's where I like to say this would really save money on that. Okay, I hear that quite a bit if it stays in the SIS. Is that true for like your MAP testing? Okay. So if you are printing, that might be something that, to think about making sure the families get it. Because I have 3 kids, my son's in college, I would never receive anything on paper from him. I love him, but it just would not happen. So that's just something to consider besides the cost savings there. So ParentSquare does have a 99% customer retention rate because we do take our partnerships so seriously. And part of that reason is that we are not going to onboard you and forget you. So I like to show this launch kit, and you will have unlimited virtual training with our enablement team. So it'll be kind of like what we're doing today, where it's a group in a virtual webinar. But then at the end of that, they ask for any questions and answers. So it's kind of like that on-demand personalized training. But we also have pre-recorded trainings. Additionally, you're going to have videos that you can send to teachers in different languages, to your families in different languages, as well as editable PDFs. And then we also have train the trainer materials. So lots of information at your disposal, because we know getting buy-in is super important. Starting off on the right foot is super important to engaging your families. So we want to let you know that this is something we understand the importance. We know it's critical, but also ParentSquare was created by 2 engineers. And so another thing that you will never find with ParentSquare is that it's never going to be stagnant. Technology is constantly changing. You guys know that more than anyone. And so we do take feedback from you very seriously. So if any of you are ParentSquare partners and you're using something and you're like, this is amazing, I just wish it had whatever it may be, let us know that. We do send that over to our product team and we take those enhancements seriously, because you will see little gifts all the time in ParentSquare and it'll be, here's something that's been enhanced or here's what's new. Luckily, it is always in your face, lots of things flashing to let you know, check this out about what's new, but we will never stay stagnant. So I did want to pause now and go ahead and open this up to some question and answer time, or anything else that I can go back in that maybe sparked your interest, or you can think of some use cases in particular to your own district that we can go take a look at. I feel like I've talked a whole lot, so it's your turn to come back in.
As we wait to see if anybody has any questions, if they're putting them in the chat, I just wanted to say, every time I see ParentSquare talking about the updates they've had or the features they have, I'm always just blown away. The ease of use, and honestly, for me, hearing that it's not app dependent is huge, because there are a lot of families that still, they either don't have the space, like you said, for another app, or they just don't have the capacity in their lives for another app. And that gives them something else. So I appreciate that. And it looks like we do have questions over here.
Yes. So for the attendance, what we are going to do is set that up exactly like you would like for us to do. Sometimes we have the high school that does it by class period, and maybe the elementary does it by AM or PM attendance. And so we're going to be pulling that information over from the SIS. ParentSquare is going to tie directly to whatever SIS that you're using. So, and then send that message out to the families. And the suggested rollout, if anyone is considering this for next school year, we have what we call a soft launch, where you only pay the onboarding fee right now. Then you're able to use ParentSquare for the rest of the year at no additional cost than the onboarding fee. And you are able to not pay that till July 1. And so that gives you a soft launch period where you can really maybe have a test group that you're sending it out, get your teachers used to it. But we also want to go at your pace. So we have some districts that are wanting to launch within a week. We just had that last week. They were like, I am ready to go. And so that does take a little bit of work on your data team, because we want to make sure that those records from the SIS are coming over correctly into ParentSquare. So that's either going to be an API connection or an SFTP, depending on what SIS that you have. So the cost, we are priced per student. And so that's just a conversation. If you want to email me after this, we can discuss that cost. I'd love to talk to you guys about that.
I also just want to say, if you are wanting to talk to other schools that have also made the switch, we have several governing board members that their districts have been using it. They're in various periods of whether it's been a couple years or they've just rolled out this year. And they're happy to speak with people about their experiences as well, because I know sometimes that's nice to have those experiences. I will tell you that it is something that all of our governing board members whose schools use it are 100% behind it. They think it was a good switch. So I just wanted to add that in as additional resources if anybody would like that.
Thank you.
To you. And then if you have any questions, you know where you can reach out. Thank you, Stacy, so much for being here with us today. This was a really, I think for me, a really enlightening Wednesday webinar.
Thank you. I appreciate your time, everyone.